now.
All right, on to Bernal we will go, as it's going to be quite the hike here for FNI, as they have 150 meters to this first cash box, as we're going to be seeing the first tap come through. Lights Out already on top of it over here on Vault 1. And FNI, they're looking to get some sight lines on to this team, as they are a little bit split right now. We see that Oksani and Skull are over on the far right, with Invarso by himself, as Cashbox 1 goes flying way past B. It's a little bit interesting, so they will be taking the gateway in pursuit of this box, trying to chase it down. Rubinski, the only one over there, while he lets his two teammates walk out the rest of the way now. FNI, they are cutting this one off, so we could see a pick here on Rubinski if he's not careful.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, an interesting play here coming out of Lights Out, throwing the cash box away, sort of trying to goad FNI, trying to get some location information, and Oxon taking out Rubinski with that LH1. Donkrage, half HP, Skull firing off the RPG, pushing in towards Durrani. Durrani caught in the middle of nowhere. Imbecile taking out Donkrage with the B9. It's taking out Durrani as well with it, going for two, and FNI get the wipe onto Lights Out, getting the flip here onto Cash Out B.
Yeah, an unfortunate position for Lights Out to be finding themselves in, as FNI just kind of had them free for the pickings, as they weren't able to get any defenses set up on that Vault B, or Cash Out B, sorry. So they were just kind of left there out on an island and had no way to be able to take a fight to FNI, as Donkrage already getting some damage out. Unfortunately for FNI, they will lose Oxon, as now the entirety of Lights Out are going to be running after Skull. Durrani not too far behind, looking to maybe score a winch. Gonna try to get the RPG, but misses his mark, not able to drop Skull down to that lower ground. Durrani still on him though. Skull dancing around the center of Red Top, and will get taken out by the combined might of Lights Out, and Durrani will get out with his life as he got dangerously low along with Donkrage. So two lights alive for FNI as they were pushing in. Rubinski caught out by his lonesome. Eventually will be down to one bar as Durrani gets the winch, and it's going to be FNI getting a team wipe against them, as this time Lights Out flipped the script and came in a little bit too hot for FNI to handle.
Yeah, no, a very close spawn off of Lights Out there, right next to the Trentilla building. Unfortunately, just catching out Oxon there and making it a real tough situation for someone like Skull to sort of dance around the entirety of Lights Out. Lights Out really just applied an insane amount of pressure there onto FNI, making it a really difficult situation for them to really come back from. And I mean, we saw in the cell catching out Rubinski, a tale as old as time between those two very close friends and now rivals inside of the arena. And now we see FNI start to approach on top of Bar here, trying to catch out Lights Out. RPG coming out from Durrani. Rubinski landing all of those bursts from the 93R straight into Skull. H+ Infuser from Imbecile, making sure that Skull's back to his full health. Dome Shield coming out. Skull with the winch, and the connections are working in their favor. Oxon taking out Donkrage. Now we see Imba in a 1v2, trying to get some damage off. Unfortunately, Durrani's taking him out. RPG missed from Skull. Rubinski getting the res onto Donkrage. Durrani taking down Skull, and that's two for Durrani with another wipe from FNI here. Unfortunately, now it puts them in a precarious position as Lights Out transition this box over to Cash Out C inside a church here. It's going to be a hard Cash Out to try and approach, especially in a double light comp here.
Yeah. And they're gonna have their options kind of cut for them, as Donkrage is pretty far here, so they got a lot of these upper rooftops covered already and a lot of angles to be held. Durrani will take some opening shots from the LH1, but nothing too serious at the moment. No, if he sticks around for much longer, it could be. He almost was killed, dropped the 1 HP. Donkrage as well getting a little low, so they're going to have to back off of this initial rooftop as Oxon looking for a way onto this top. Rubinski going off that front area of this Bernal Church, as Skull and the Barnso are working to winch Cash Out C inside. They want this team to be dropping in on him. Doncrage and Durrani getting active. They find a Vine Cell. That's going to be one kill. Oxon killed on the opposite side of the field. Now it's just Skull alive again. We see the scenario all too often. He's going to try to 1v3 here, but it's not going to be enough, as he's going to be stalled out here and just taking a sweet time getting this kill. Skull going to be finally dropped out as that stall comes to pass.
Yeah, I mean, some definitely bold tactics coming out of Lights Out. Stagger making sure that FNI get as little time as possible on this cash out C here. An unfortunate situation to be in. However, Lights Out, a very dominant team. I think if FNI were in the same situation, they'd try and stagger him as long as they could too. About 30 seconds here left on cash out C. FNI now having to approach over from Bar, being picked out by the sonar nade, making their approach incredibly difficult. Skull getting lit up by the forces of Lights Out here. Right on top of the church. Babinski 2 bars. Skull down at 1 HP. Doncrage with the V9S taking out Invar 1 HP, but getting the flip onto Rabinski, taking him out. However, it's going to be all for nothing as the first game here goes to Lights Out, and Lights Out are now one map up. Now, Lightning, it's going to be a very interesting tale here going into these next two games with FNI being a map down. It is now going to go onto Sis for our next map here.
Yeah, and that was pretty close to a Lights Out performance. You know, they only dropped the one team fight early on Bernal, so they were able to clean up their gameplay pretty well in all things considered. I mean, we had a little bit of early picks on the lights from both sides of these teams, but Lights Out largely able to control and mitigate the bleeding before it became too troublesome for them. Now, going into this next map, we should see the same style of comp. Nozomi is a very, very close range, and it's going to really punish these lights if they're not careful with the positioning, especially since both heavies are running winch. If you're going to be going in too recklessly, you could get very easily deleted at a moment's notice. So it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to play this, if they want to be a little bit more careful or if they're going to be just as aggro and really throw caution into the wind and take these fights head on.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I believe we're going into Sis as our next map here. Nozomi coming up as the tiebreaker decider map, should it go the distance. However, we do see quite a lot of heavy light at the moment, especially in the current meta. It's going to be very exciting here as we go into Sis. Not much time for analysis, unfortunately, but we'll be able to break it down in this next game here. Now, we're expecting FNI really to sort of try and claw back to take it to map 3, because unfortunately, if they don't, they're going to have to go back into cash out. They're going to have to go back and duke it out to try and make it back to this final round here, Lightning.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be a very, very close map. It's going to be interesting to see if we see Oxon still on the LH1, which is putting in so much work on Bernal, as we do still have a little bit of close sight or longer sight lines, but more edging towards the close side of things, as there's a lot of compact corridors and close range fights, as we do see him switch over to 93R, at least in the beginning screen. I'm not seeing him switch it over, so he is going to be locking in that 93R for Sis Horizon, as it's going to be interesting to see how that is going to affect the gameplay. We should still see a lot of burst damage coming out of FNI onto Lights Out, but both these heavies, like I said, still on winch. They want to force these close engagements and pick out these lights early.
Yeah, and I mean, we see from both teams, it's pretty much a near identical mirror matchup. Rabinski taking the grenade, something that we saw him take quite a lot yesterday inside of the season qualifiers. But Doncrage getting winched here by Skull. Doncrage getting taken down. Invar getting taking Rabinski to the grave and taking Durrani as well. A fast team wipe here against Lights Out. And that means that we're going to see a very quick flood here coming out of FNI, coming up here in towards Library. And now it's all a case of can FNI secure the cash box, get it into an advantageous position, and make it absolute hell for Lights Out to try and approach here.
Yeah, I mean, right now you have all the time in the world really to set up. As Lights Out are just now coming into the area of Cash Out A as they're getting their gateway set. They cross that open area, not wanting to get picked off and take any kind of taxing damage as they try to make that cross. Though the sonar might have detected one of them, so I believe the FNI already have an idea of where they are. If they didn't, they do now, as they are breaking a lot of the glass and making quite a bit of noise, as they are now walking underneath of that A objective site, making their way up. FNI holding a lot of high ground, not allowing themselves to be seen, as Varcel will pop the invis, trying to get an eye on what's going on. A will be dropped to Ronnie, winching it away. Maybe trying to force this fight down onto the lower ground. Skull's already been found getting active on the lights, but both lights won't be able to kite away. As Skull's gonna be dropped by his lonesome fountain and picked out. It's now just a Varcel and Oxon. But they do get the flip pick on Rubinski, so it is a 2v2. As Ronnie's gonna take some damage, but he gets the pick on Varcel. Just Oxon left for FNI, and he's gonna be playing that range, trying not to get picked so his teammates can coin. Gonna go in on Donkrage. He's gonna get retribution for the previous team wipe, as Donkrage does secure the team wipe against FNI, as A will be secured by Lights Out.
Yeah, no, definitely an unfortunate situation for Skull to be in, slightly separated away from his two lights, getting the RPG thrown towards him, dropping him into a really bad spot there, sort of just being thrown into the blender against Durrani and the other two lights of Lights Out. And unfortunately, it's looking like it's going from bad to worse for FNI. They really need to win these next two boxes here to keep their hopes alive of qualifying early and making it through to the next wave here. And now we see Sonar's coming out. Skull with the winch onto Durrani. Durrani dropping down to 1 HP. The H plus infusion keeping him alive. And now we see Skull on the prowl, taking out Durrani. Donkrage taking out Skull. Imbar in a 1v1 against Donkrage. He takes out him. He gets taken out. Imbar trying to get healed by the H plus infuser. Now Oxon takes out Rubinski, and it's a Lights Out for Lights Out. And it's FNI once again winning the bullfight here. It does beg the question though, how come Lights Out are losing the bullfights but are winning the cash outs? And it's the same for FNI.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting scenario to be finding yourself in, as both these teams are pretty much going blow for blow here on this horizon. As I was going to be not necessarily surprised if I saw those teams come out on a pretty much even stalemate and both of them drop as they come up on the invis. Durrani taking a little bit of early damage, but nothing too damaging quite yet, but they will get that pick on Skull. Varcel following suit. Now Shazaksan, and he will be dropped as well. Lights Out, shutting down FNI before they can plug the box. And now they have control and will have plenty of time to set up here.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's unfortunate given the spawn of Lights Out with the Vanish Pad cutting off FNI from being able to get the box plugged into Cash Out B here. And now, given the nature of that wipe, it means that Lights Out have had plenty of time to get themselves set up. We see them respawn now. FNI Skull taking a bunch of damage here. Oxon as well. Oxon half HP. Sonar coming out. Lights Out looking to sort of flush FNI out of wherever they're sat. Now, FNI trying to make as little movement as possible, not really trying to give away their position. Donkrage and Durrani sat directly above them, waiting for this pad to come out. Skull half HP. Rubinski now being an absolute demon, running away, trying to kite away, getting all the info coming out with the sonar. Durrani half HP. I'm fairly certain that was Oxon, and Donkrage taking out Oxon here. Oxon kind of split from his team, making it difficult now for FNI really to do much. Now, Donkrage invis pushing up, RPG coming out from Durrani. All of Skull's barricade cover is now gone. It's now FNI having to run for their lives here as the lights are now chasing them, staring them right in the eyes, blinded by this scenario that they're in. Skull, 4 bars, Durrani chasing him down. Invar in a 1v1 against Donkrage being taken out here. Skull now dead as well. Oxon coining in last second, making it incredibly difficult here for FNI really to do anything. And it looks like it's going to be lights out, progressing on here with FNI dropping back into the cash out section of the Fight for the Throne series here, Lightning.
Yeah, that was a tough go for FNI. They were just trying to buy time for Oxon to coin, and they just couldn't pull it out long enough. Unfortunately, Avarso getting run down by the entirety of Lights Out, and Skull was not long behind. And as soon as Avarso was dropped, you could kind of tell that they knew that the bell was being tolled for their untimely demise here in this first